Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and we are finally here. This is the world's first glossy OLED gaming monitor that I've been lucky enough to get hands-on with to give you my first impressions. And let me tell you, it is awesome to finally be looking at a glossy OLED in the setup. So this is ROG's latest WOLED monitor called the XG27AQDMG. I know that's a lot, but it's packing the usual features you would expect as well as a few extras as well. So it's a 27-inch screen with 240Hz support, VRR, OLED anti-flicker, and is 20% brighter than the previous model. Oh, and the bonus is this one is launching even cheaper at $699. Well, today we're going to go through the unboxing and the setup and talk about the specs. But any questions you've got along the way, just drop those in the comments. So I think this could be a first for ROG, but they've gone for the brown packaging this year, which means it's lightweight and eco-friendly. I'll be honest, I usually prefer the gaming focus of their packaging, but I appreciate this is better in the long run. Okay, then inside the box we get a pack of stickers, a manual and a quick start guide which will show us how to install the stand. There's also quite a few accessories, and that's something that I've always liked about the ROG monitors, as they come with everything that you actually need. So inside this little bag it comes with an HDMI cable, a branded microfiber cloth which is a first, a USB 3.0 cable and a DisplayPort cable. We then have the power adapter and a power cable as well, but that's everything that we get inside the box. We then have three parts for the stand, so there's the main arm here which will attach to the back, and this has a threaded hole on the top for your light or your webcam. It's also got some nice ROG branding and a cable management hole for us to feed our cables through. And when it comes to fitting it, it's very similar to the other monitors that we've had from ROG. So it's a simple one-click install by clicking the arm onto the back. Then there's the base, which has this nice new compact design compared to what we've seen before. So it's a flat base rather than having metal feet sticking out, which makes a nice change. And this centerpiece actually spins so you can rotate the monitor without needing to move the entire base. And there's even a slot here for sitting your phone in. And if we flip this over, it's got some rubber feet on the bottom to stop it sliding around on your desk. And then fitting it is a case of slotting this onto the bottom of the arm and using the little screw underneath to attach it. And if we stand this up, we can now do the honours. And here it is. Oh man, this looks absolutely awesome. I've always been a huge fan of OLED monitors, but to finally see a glossy WOLED screen is so good. But before we take a closer look at the screen, let me show you around the back. If you've seen any previous ROG gaming monitors, you'll notice this looks very similar. It's got this cyberpunk inspired design with a bulky centre where all of the internals are, and the incredibly thin panel surrounding that. It's got a huge ROG logo on the back, which you can change the colour of or turn it off completely. And then we've got the usual ROG branding back here as well, including this new addition to the rear of the stand. I actually think this looks a lot cleaner than before. Now with this design of the monitor, it's something that you'll either love or hate, but it's certainly got a gaming vibe going on. It's just a shame that you'll never actually see this once you've pushed it up against your wall. And at the bottom here we have the joystick and the menu buttons, which is what you'll use to navigate through the settings. And above that are the ports. So we've got a power port, a headphone jack, two HDMI ports, one DisplayPort 1.4, a USB Type B and two USB 3.2 Type A ports. It is worth mentioning though that the HDMI ports are HDMI 2.0 and not HDMI 2.1. I know that's something that's probably surprised you, but I'll explain more on that later. As for the design and style, the first thing you'll notice is how thin the screen is. Like, it is really thin at the top. It's very similar to the previous OLEDs that we've had before. Now the frame of the screen is thin, but it still has some slightly thicker bezels around the screen itself. So you're still going to be getting those black borders regardless of the content that you watch. Then underneath the screen there's this notch containing the red ROG logo. Now this is something that we have gotten used to over the last few years, but what's great is if you don't like that red glow, you can actually turn this off in the settings. Obviously you'll still have the notch, but I think it looks a lot nicer and cleaner with no light on at all. And 2024 must be the year of hexagonal or square stands, as they've also gone for one of these flat bases over the metal feet. But one huge advantage to this over the normal metal feet is it takes up far less room on your desk, and there's even a little slot here for your phone. As for movement, well, it can move up and down, which is nice and smooth. It can pivot 90 degrees, so you could even have it upright if you wanted to. It will then tilt or angle up and down, and it will rotate as well. And what's great about the rotation is not only can you move it left and right on the stand, it's got this little dial around the arm that allows you to line it up perfectly back in the middle. Now, although most of today's video will be showing this monitor on the provided stand, ROG have also sent me their Ergo monitor arm as well. So this comes with a clamp that attaches to the desk and screws into place. Then the arm gives me full flexibility to lift it off the desk and move it around. The design is pretty similar to the monitor, so it fits right in. And if you've seen any of my previous monitor videos, you'll know that I much prefer using a monitor arm than the provided stands. But in order to use any monitor arm, you will need to use this provided VESA bracket that comes in the box. Right, so are you ready to see how nice this glossy OLED looks? I've been genuinely really excited to show this off to you since I shared some early photos of it last week. Okay, so it's packing a 27-inch 1440p WOLED panel, which is ROG's 3rd gen OLED tech. Now, ROG have confirmed this also brings us a 20% boost in brightness over the G-Sync, so that is a really nice increase thanks to the new compact custom heatsink that it's got. Now, this puts the brightness at around 440 nits in SDR and around 1050 nits in HDR on a 2% window. It's obviously not as bright as the QD-OLEDs that we've seen recently, which was one of the first things I noticed, but when viewing it in a room where you can manage the lights, this is absolutely fine, and it's a step up from the last one. But the biggest feature of this new monitor is of course that glossy screen, and this is a first for us. I mean, we have seen so many matte or anti-glare OLEDs that we didn't really think this day would ever come. We've also already seen some semi-glossy QD OLEDs, but these have their own issues such as raised blacks. Well, I can say that the finish on this screen is glossy and it looks so good. But let me quickly talk about the pros or advantages of this glossy screen. Firstly, the colours really pop. Obviously that's also thanks to the 99% DCI P3 colour gamut, but as it's not hiding behind a matte finish, you get to see how deep the colours look. Secondly, the black levels. It's got a display HDR true black rating of 400, which means the black levels on this screen are near perfect. And because it's glossy, it means the blacks are black. They aren't muddy or raised like we might see on the QD OLEDs. Like if you look here, you can see how it looks practically jet black. And this isn't even impacted by the light in the room either. But to test this out, I decided to shine a couple of different lights onto the screen just to see how they would react. And from my testing, I'm seeing what I would expect to see from a glossy screen. In fact, it's performing in the same way as my OLED TV or my phone does. So yeah, if you were wondering if this screen actually performs like a glossy OLED, the answer is it definitely does. Now of course, there is one disadvantage to a glossy screen which is something worth considering, and that is the risk of reflections in your room. I don't think it's a huge issue and you just need to factor in any lights or windows that might be seen in the reflections. So here's how it would look if you were to rotate the screen or point it towards a window. But to be honest, it's a small price to pay for what I would consider a better image quality over a matte finish. Now I've tried a mixture of images, games and movies over the last week just to see how the screen looks in normal viewing conditions, and it has been great. As mentioned, it's not quite as bright as some of the others, so in a well lit room it does look quite dim, but reducing the lights around me helped a lot. Now there's no denying that the colours and vibrancy of the screen look impressive, and the fact it has HDR means any games or content that you play on here that support that look even better than it would in SDR. But it's the black levels that really impress me. I turned the lights off in the room just to capture this, but you can see just how good this looks. Sure, we can still see some slight reflections due to that glossy screen, but you can tell how good the black levels are. ROG have also confirmed clear pixel edge tech, which means text is even clearer than before, and it also means there will be a reduction in colour fringing as well. I'm trying to capture this now just to show you how it looks. And if you pair that with the uniform brightness option, which limits the peak brightness to stop those annoying brightness pops that we usually get from OLEDs, this could make a great productivity monitor. Now of course I would primarily use this monitor for gaming, after all that's what it's designed for. And in terms of what gaming features it's packing, it's a 1440p screen with a 240Hz refresh rate. Now I would rather this was a 4K screen, but at 27 inches, 1440p really is enough for most games. In fact, according to Steam, most gamers are still using 1080p screens, with 1440p coming in second. Now I've been using this on both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, as you can see here, and I've managed to get 1440p, 120Hz and VRR working absolutely fine, which I know is sometimes a concern when using an HDMI 2.0 port. I've also noticed that the monitor will accept a 4K input and downscale it to 1440p, so it means you don't need to mess around with your settings if you don't want to. And then if you're on PC, well, you do have the DisplayPort 1.4 to make the most of the full 240Hz. And as this screen does support VRR, it allows all of the games that support it to run incredibly smoothly. I was jumping between various games while filming just to see how they would perform, and I was genuinely impressed by how good they looked. And it's not just the technical features, it's the overall image quality as well. I mean, looking at this now, I'm struggling to tell that this is only 1440p. It looks so sharp on this 27-inch screen that it could even be 4K. Maybe it's just that glossy OLED finish that's giving me a better non-hazy image, but this looks really sharp and really clear. And also, can we talk about just how good the viewing angles are? If you've had an OLED before, this isn't anything new, but it still impresses me just how much we can see from the side of the screen. It's only those reflections that you might need to contend with. As for the response time, ROG are claiming a grey-to-grey response of 0.03 milliseconds, and something called OLED anti-flicker. This is new and exclusive on this monitor, and is designed to reduce the VRR flicker when the refresh rate fluctuates. It's something that's rarely talked about, but something that some games do suffer from. But this new mode is designed to prevent that from happening by reducing the refresh window. There are actually 3 settings available for this anti-flicker, including strong, middle, and off. It also comes with Nvidia's G-Sync and AMD FreeSync premium support, and there's even an adaptive sync mode that you can turn on and off in the settings. Now, I'm not able to test the full 240Hz in the current setup, but I can tell you at 120Hz this looks incredible. Plus, it works perfectly well on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Not only does this monitor pack some serious gaming features, but it also has the integrated Game Plus content as well. So this gives us various settings and features that might be useful depending on the games that you play. That includes a crosshair setting, a timer on screen, a sniper mode, and the current refresh rate and a stopwatch. The current refresh rate is interesting because it means you can see exactly what your games are running at. Now, one thing that worries a lot of us when it comes to OLEDs is burn-in. I mean, I've never personally had an issue with it, but there are a lot of tests out there where you do need to really hammer the screens to get close to damaging it. But either way, ROG have done quite a lot to protect it. Firstly, they've got the ASUS OLED care settings. This gives us features like pixel cleaning, screen move, and logo brightness adjusting. You can also create a pixel cleaning reminder and enable a screensaver. These features alone will help protect the panel and essentially keep the screen in better condition for longer. But on top of that, the new compact custom heatsink is designed to keep the heat down and in turn help reduce the risk of burning. It's also got a fanless heatsink, so it means no matter how bright the screen is while gaming, you will never hear the fans kick in. And then if the OLED care and the heatsink isn't enough, it also comes with a 3-year warranty which also covers screen burn. So there you have it, ROG's latest OLED gaming monitor and the first WOLED monitor with a glossy screen. Now this thing ticks a lot of boxes for gaming, like if you were after a 27-inch screen at 1440p with 240Hz support, this is already a great contender. Not to mention it's a glossy OLED and is reasonably priced. I was genuinely shocked to see that it will be launching at $699, which comes in about $300 less than the PG27. And let's be honest, you're getting far more for your money. So yeah, if these specs suit your needs, this is a monitor that I would definitely recommend picking up. And what do you think? Is glossy the better choice? Now drop finally a glossy OLED in the comments and I'll give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And if you did enjoy today's video, check out my digital versus physical video next, as we talk about the pros and cons of buying digital or physical games in 2024. Well, thanks for watching, please like, subscribe and follow me everywhere. Until next time.